Hi, it's Mr. Shrum, and I am walking through the competition in aquatic ecosystems course activity. We're going to develop a model of the flow of energy in an aquatic ecosystem and show how an environmental change affects um, resources in a region. The introduction talks about how, from the smallest cyanobacteria to the most gigantic whales, an aquatic ecosystem is home to many beautiful and strange organisms. Aquatic ecosystems provide many valuable resources on which humans and other organisms depend. Natural changes, as well as human activities, like our economic system, has led to the exploitation of resources, pollution, oil spills, and natural disasters due to climate change. And these all affect ecosystems and the organisms living in them. We're going to build a food web for an aquatic ecosystem and then use that model to explain how natural changes and human activities can change the way the food web is structured. Food webs are a complex model, and it shows us the interconnected pathways through which energy flows in an ecosystem. And we refer to the organisms within the food web in certain ways due to their function and how they feed. Producers are organisms that produce their own usable energy. These include plants and single-celled organisms that can perform photosynthesis. They take energy from the sun, turn it into their own energy, and then other animals eat those producer plants. And for example, in an aquatic ecosystem, algae are producers, and they provide food for the rest of the food web. They're very important here. Then we have first level consumers. These are herbivores primarily, and they eat the producers, the plants. They're called first level or primary because they consume producers. Examples here are green turtle and mollusks in an aquatic ecosystem. Second level or secondary consumers are smaller carnivores and small omnivores. Carnivores only eat meat. Omnivores eat both plants and meat. They eat the primary consumers. Small fish are examples of secondary consumers in an aquatic ecosystem. Third level or tertiary consumers are larger carnivores, omnivores that consume these second level or secondary consumers. We have water birds and larger fish that eat the smaller secondary consumer fish. And then we have fourth level or quaternary consumers. These are the largest carnivores or omnivores in the ecosystem. They prey on tertiary consumers and other organisms in the ecosystem. Examples are whales, larger sharks in an aquatic ecosystem. And how we refer to what eats what, or how the energy is transferred, we use directional arrows to show which way the energy flows. So we have the producers, first level consumers, second, and third. It also shows you where the resources are coming from, which are used or shared among the ecosystem. And everything has to be kept in balance, right? The producers need the other animals as well as the animals need the plants. And each animal needs itself to maintain this ecological balance, a unity in diversity. And a disturbance in one of these levels can have an impact on the rest of the ecosystem. Here's the rubric for the scoring. And then here is the task. So, we're going to build a food web and then use the web to describe what can happen to the energy flow in an ecosystem if environmental factors change because of natural factors and human interference or human neglect of an ecological way of life. Here we need these materials: paper, a pen or pencil, a word processing, or some type of design software. Part A, begin by selecting a freshwater or marine aquatic ecosystem as a model for your food web. So we're trying to be very specific. Choose a specific lake. If you choose an ocean ecosystem, identify the area and the depth that you're looking at. Keep in mind that deep sea organisms live in a completely different environment than surface aquatic organisms. So if you're going to look at surface, stick with the surface. If you want to dive a little deeper and look at deep sea creatures, go ahead and stick to that region. We're going to look at how to conduct the research on the following conditions. So look at the geographical features, temperature, depth, the availability of light in the region, salinity, that's the amount of saltiness, pH, the acidity, is it very acidic, is it basic, unique features that contribute to the ecosystem, such as other bodies of water that connect to it, unusual chemistry and climate. So here we have an example description. I chose Lake Erie. It's one of the Great Lakes. It borders the states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, New York, and the Canadian province of Ontario. Freshwater lake, average pH of 8.3 to 8.4, so it's more basic, which makes it alkaline. Lake Erie is the shallowest Great Lake, and that makes it the warmest Great Lake in the summer and the quickest to freeze in the winter. During the summer, Lake Erie's temperatures are generally in the range of 21 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. The Detroit River provides the majority of the water for Lake Erie, and the Niagara River is the lake's major outlet. Now we're going to look at the types of organisms that live in the ecosystem. Note that quaternary consumers and maybe even tertiary consumers, so the third and the fourth level in a food web, can include land animals that rely on the animals in the aquatic ecosystem for food. So not all of the consumers will be in the water per se. So here we have examples. Producers in Lake Erie, you have algae, blue-green algae, green algae, diatoms. First level consumers, water fleas, mollusks, zebra mussels. Next level up, you have yellow perch, round goby, rainbow smelt, third level consumers, walleye, smallmouth bass, and then quaternary, we have the Lake Erie water snake. And now in part C, we're going to take those species that we found in the region you chose and then create a food web for the ecosystem. So here's a sample. Excuse me. Okay. But we're going to use less organisms. And be sure to identify which way the energy is flowing. So who's eating what? So you can use something on your computer. You can use hand draw it and then take a picture of it and then upload it here. But here is the example. Producers, next level up, primary, secondary, tertiary, and then quaternary consumers. So you can use Google Drive, open up a document and draw, or just use pencil and paper and take a picture and upload it here. And to upload it, you would just insert image here. Part D, changes in ecosystems can be attributed to natural causes like natural disasters, seasonal variations in climate, currents, and tidal activity. Many of these changes can affect the amount of food resources available in an ecosystem. We're going to research one natural change that currently affects or could possibly affect the aquatic ecosystem. Use the food web you created to explain how this change can affect the competition for food resources, the use of food resources in the aquatic ecosystem. So an example here for Lake Erie, there have been notable incidences of large populations of fish just dying off in Lake Erie. These could be caused by diseases, but often there's no certain cause. One notable incident occurred in 2010, that's 2022, 2010, 12 years ago, when the rainbow smelt died off all at once in that lake. As of 2016, statistics show that the population hasn't fully bounced back. The food web of Lake Erie shows that smelt are secondary consumers. Their absence from the ecosystem must have decreased food availability for larger consumers, such as walleye, trout, and bass. The death of smelt may have increased the competition for food for these other organisms. So unfortunately, if there's less food in a region, that will destabilize things for the rest of the ecosystem. That is talking about natural factors, but there's also human activity that is responsible for altering ecosystems. So destroying parts of the rainforest to farm one crop just to make money, and runoff from toxic waste, and because businesses are going to do what businesses do and not care about their environmental impact, and if they can make more money. Conduct research on a human activity that currently affects or can theoretically affect your chosen ecosystem. Use your food web model to explain how this change can affect the competition for food resources. Agricultural activities near Lake Erie have resulted in eutrophication. Eutrophication occurs when runoff from fields spills nutrients from fertilizers into the water, causing excessive algae growth. So another activity in this biology class is about algae blooms, those toxic algae blooms. Green algae and other aquatic plants start to grow uncontrollably in the water. The plants can grow so thick that they block sunlight from reaching the organisms below, and that would decrease the population. Because there's less food in the area, there may be a fight for resources, or organisms would die off because there's not enough food to go around. There are also periodic dead zones in the lake caused by eutrophication. These dead zones have little oxygen and organisms can't survive there. So if you do not take care of the environment or have ecological business practices, farming practices, you will harm the ecosystem and in turn harm us. So we should not do that, right? But that's a topic for another time. Anyway, that's been the course activity about aquatic ecosystems and modeling a food web. Yeah, once you upload that picture of the food web or create it in Google Drive or Google, you could do it with Word. Do you guys have Paint? I'm not sure if you have that feature available to you, but good luck. Thank you all, and message me if you have any questions. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.